have no engines, John.
No. Look how close the beam is to the top of the block right there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
288 cc's of fury.
That's it.
What's up, everybody? I'm John.
I'm Isaac.
And today on Cars and Cameras, we're building a purpose-built drag mini bike. This is the Rascal GT. It's a brand new chassis from Go Power Sports. It's designed to be a lightweight drag racing mini bike platform for the masses. The Go Power Sports 660 8th mile drag race is coming up in a week and a half. We're building two bikes. So this bike is going to have a monster of an engine. It's going to have a cast block Tillotson, billet cylinder head, Methanol, 285 or so cc engine, producing well north of 30 horsepower. I would love to go in the 7s with this bike, but we have no idea what it's going to do because we haven't tested it. So in this video, we're going to get this bike assembled, we're going to get our engine assembled, and we're going to try to do some testing and tuning in preparation for the 660 in a week and a half.
We better hurry up, bud.
I know.
We might lose the shot.
Too much talk. Let's get to work there.
Before we get this thing together, I really need to see how much this thing weighs. And this is a cheap scale, so it could be off by...
Plus or minus 2 or 3 pounds.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, but it's showing right here 19 pounds on this scale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right off the bat, I mean, what they did for the engine plate is really cool, not only to reduce the weight of it, but also it'll accept a clutch or a jug averter. The rear axle hanger is really, really sweet. You have so many peg mounts and jack shaft mounting areas, so this thing's really designed to be very customizable.
Very versatile.
Exactly. So like any fresh mini bike we get, we're going to start by deburring the chassis and kind of getting rid of some of those rough edges.
Yeah, and then test fitting before you decide to paint the frame. So it's always good to test fit everything, get it together, make sure everything's working right, because it would really, really, really be bad to paint it and then to find out you got to deburr it or whatever on assembly. So let's get this thing together.
The nice thing about deburring a race bike is it's only going to make it lighter.
That's it. Now we're choosing not to paint this frame because paint is only going to make it heavier, right?
That's right.
Right? Yeah. All right, we're going to start by lightening this frame up by deburring it and getting rid of all of the little sharp corners. Now, lightening it up, we're talking about like probably the weight of a piece of paper, but every little ounce counts, right?
Every half an ounce.
So now that I've got all the holes cleaned up and all the sharp edges cleaned up, we're going to install the bushings in the steering head. I like to get the bushing and install the bolt in there, and you take a nice ball peen hammer and you hammer the bushing in there. I can't find the ball peen hammer, so I'm gonna improvise. That easy.
So the chassis has been deburred and we have most of the parts laid out on the table with a few things to be determined. We're not quite sure on the rear axle setup. We know we need the 35 chain is what we're going to use. So we're going to link everything we use in the video description so you can check it out for yourself. This video is sponsored by Go Power Sports. So if you want to check all this stuff out, use the link in the video description, and anytime you place an order with Go Power Sports, let them know on the order page that Cars and Cameras sent you. So let's start bolting things to the chassis, and sooner or later we're going to have a bike.
In there.
So we're getting the gas tank installed. Of course, we're going to be running Sunoco methanol. So we're only going to get one pass per fill up here. Oh, it sure is tight to get that bolt. Probably should have tightened this bolt before I installed the fuel tank, but it's fine. We're using titanium hardware just to save a little bit of extra weight. Titanium hardware. Oh boy. All right, got the steering stabilizer installed as well. And just waiting on our controls.
Loosen these lines to rotate them. I believe that's what we want. We have no engines. We have no engines, John.
No.
Where are our engines?
And we're also missing the rest of our parts.
Yeah.
But here's a little teaser. We're going to be using the front wheel. Can you hold this up here?
Absolutely.
We're going to be using the front wheel off the rail. Little junior dragster action.
Nice and light.
Nice and lightweight. Looks cool.
Yep.
Yeah, it's going to be sweet. So we're kind of hitting pause until we have more parts.
Yep.
So our engine parts have finally arrived, and it is time to put this beast together. This is about as big as you can go for a cast block Tillotson. This is going to be 288 cc's, right under the 290 cc max, and every single box is checked on this build. You have a billet cylinder head with I think that's a 32 millimeter intake valve. I like Paul's sense of humor there. We have a 34 millimeter flat slide carburetor. That just tells you how much this thing is going to need to breathe. The camshaft is even lightened, and it's been clearanced significantly to fit in that engine. I can't wait until we get the rotating assembly in, and we can just see how much of a bear it was for Paul to get that huge crankshaft inside this cast block engine. So our buddy Zach is here. He's helping us out unboxing the engine parts, getting everything cleaned up, deburred, anything that might have been missed. Of course, Paul already had this engine clearanced for us, but we're just going over it again just in case, because this is a huge investment of an engine. We want to make sure it's as clean as it can be when it goes together for the first time.
All right, so we're getting ready to put the 288 together, and I have a question for you guys in the comments. So for small engines, you can either put your engine together with assembly lube or engine oil. Ike always likes assembly lube because it's what he's always used when putting like small block Chevys together. However, because these don't create a ton of oil pressure, the assembly lube can actually clog some of the holes to your like oiling system in these engines. So that's the argument for engine oil, and assembly lube is just kind of what everyone always uses for tradition. So let me know down in the comments, what do you like to use? I think I'll go half and half on this engine. I'm just kidding. I'll use assembly lube and just be very careful with it.
So we're going to start with just some assembly lube in the bore, the cylinder rather, and on the crankshaft journal and the connecting rod bearing. The rod bearings were already installed from Paul when you had this thing mocked up. Yeah, here's where you need to be really careful, because if you go too generous with this assembly lube, you can definitely clog those holes. I should probably dig some of that out. Put some on the journal, and just a little bit here. We're going to be firing this engine up in the next day or two, so we really don't need a ton on here. And it's always important that when you install the beam onto the wrist pin of your piston, you get the orientation correct. And the way you think about that is, well, think about the way the engine is going to spin, and then consider how the oil dipper is going to dip in there. So in this case, the engine is going to spin like this. And so that's the way the dipper is going to want to dip in the oil. So we hold it just like this. We have the top of the piston marked. And you know what, let me put some assembly lube on the inside of the top of the beam. And as you put any engine together, whether it's a stage 2 or something as crazy as this, you want to just feel things out and listen as they go together. You want to pay attention to any kind of bind or friction or something that may not be there. Because catching something now is going to save you a lot of time and money rather than letting something prematurely fail. All right. The wrist pin's in there, and you want to make sure you give yourself plenty of light and just make sure that it's totally in that groove. Because if you have a wrist pin ejectocito at 9,000 RPM, you're going to have a bad time. So we can get the crankshaft installed and then install the rod and piston into the engine. And in goes the crankshaft. It's a big one. Can't wait to see the clearance when that rod gets installed. It's going to be tight. All right, here we go with the rod and piston. No rings on it right now because we're just going to get it mocked up in there to make sure everything is going to clear. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Check that out. Now we're just gonna just get these rod bolts just a little more than hand tight so we can check clearances and everything. We'll go ahead and throw the cam in there too, because why not? Listen for clunks. Now, a few millimeters added to bore and stroke may not sound like much on paper, but when it comes to actually getting parts fitted in the engine, yeah, it's significant. So this camshaft, I've never seen this before, but it's got marks all around it. But we've got some red marks here from Paul that tell us that's how we need to line up the timing marks on our crankshaft. So we've got assembly lube everywhere. Look how tight that's about to be. I mean, look at the dipper. It's like basically right in the way of the camshaft. Crazy. So here we go. And there we go. Sweet. That is close. Yeah. It's gonna be a bad mamma jamma, fellas. Look how close the beam is to the top of the block right there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, this whole... And look how close, like the... Well, hold on. Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
It's a big one. And look how far you could see the piston skirt coming down into the crankcase there. Yeah.
That is gonna be...
It's gonna be such a beast. And the rod, you probably can't see this on camera, but look, the rod cap is like about to touch the camshaft.
It is. It's not touching, but it...
No.
Good Lord, it's
yeah,
close.
look at that, dude. So that's why you see the grind marks on the cam there. Because it just barely misses it. It's just incredible to me that the tolerance is that tight now, and it's going to stay like that up to 10,000
Can you
RPM.
spin it back again?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm going to put the...
10,000ths.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to put the side cover on it because that's going to locate these, and then we'll spin it over and listen again.
Yeah.
But it's so crazy to see how tight these things are, man. It's wild. And so, yeah, this is about as much as you can get out of a cast block for what you're seeing here. You got to go billet if you want to go bigger than this, which the sky is the limit on the billet stuff because it's just designed with, you know, 300, 400 or more cc's in mind. Really crazy. All right. So we're going to get the side cover installed, and then we're going to spin it over and listen for any clunking. And then we can pull it back apart, get the rings installed, and start torquing some things down. So the engine passed the clearancing test. I mean, Paul did an incredible job. He had to spend hours and hours and hours on this thing. So thank you, Paul, again for this engine. I mean, I didn't notice it at first, but he even had to clearance the oil dipper there. It's crazy the amount of detail, how detail-oriented you need to be able to put together an engine of this size. So now it's time for the piston rings. This piston is different. It's obviously a lot bigger than your average small block piston, but it only has one oiling ring and one compression ring. So it's a lot shorter, and I'm guessing that's for maybe a better wrist pin ratio or definitely less weight. So we're going to install the oil ring first, the waffle ring, and you need to be very, very careful not to break these. That's going to be some overnight parts from Japan if you do. All right, there's the bottom oil ring. Or the oil ring is in 3 pieces. It's 2 identical flat skinny rings sandwiched by the waffle ring. So we're going to put the top one on now. Then we're going to be moving on to the compression ring. And for the compression ring, we're going to install it with the letters facing up, and that's just this specific engine. You're going to want to pay attention whenever you do your own engine build. Just follow the instructions.
Down here. I'm looking at this one down here. That's why
There we go. All right, we got the side cover on, and what is going on here? Top 65 horsepower, huh? Please don't crash. All right, well, I mean,
How do you spell Fury?
F-U-R-Y.
F-U-R-Y?
Yes.
That's what I got.
Good.
It doesn't look right. 288 cc's of Fury.
That's it.
Yes. All right. So we are now installing the head on this engine. So we got a really, really sweet MoFlow head. And wow, the combustion chamber is just so buttery.
Yeah, Paul did a great job.
Yes, he did. Not so great on the smiley face. It looks like cross between a smiley face and anger.
Yeah, dude, it's like the mischievous face. It's the you finna get this gap face. You know what I mean? Oh, yes. So much better now. I like it. So we were recommended to use red high temperature RTV silicone on both sides of the head gasket. You want it thick, but thin.
If that makes any sense.
That's it. Word for word, baby.
Yeah.
So it's all right.
So before bolting it down, I'm going to let it sit for a few minutes and kind of skin over.
Yeah.
That way when we clamp, it just doesn't eject all of the silicone out. So about 5 minutes and we'll be ready to put the head on.
Sounds good. And our buddy Scott is here helping us with assembly on the Rascal GT. We had a great idea. We're doing the chassis raw. We're doing a red grip and a blue grip.
It's going to be painted in red, white, and awesome.
That's right.
Wait a minute. I'm taking my red grip back.
Hey.
Oh.
We may have had to steal the bars off of Ike's bike for this one. Yeah, bus leaves in like about 24 hours.
I mean, what am I going to do for a grip?
You'll be fine, dude. You don't need one. So we don't have all the parts to install the 1-inch live axle in the back of this Rascal GT, but Go Power Sports is going to have a polished aluminum wheel and 2 new hubs and sprocket and brake rotor waiting for us down in Texas. So we're going to be taking basically a 40 horsepower unicycle down there and finishing the build in Texas the day of the test and tune.
It's kind of scary, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Sweet. Looks killer.
That's just kind of on there.
Yeah, we'll let the rider's preference for angle. So we're gonna put some bolt fittings in our seat.
Yep, gotta mark them out.
Yep.
And we got these little things. I've never used these before, but the theory is pretty easy. Just deep enough.
All right, so we're going to be putting the head on now. So that gasket has had plenty of time to sit there and marinate. So we're going to be installing these head nuts
At 25
at
foot-pounds.
25 foot-pounds, and I am going to lubricate the threads. I wasn't told to lubricate the threads.
We were.
Oh, were we?
Yes.
Okay. It's just a standard thing I like to do. Just got some assembly lube here. Sit there and lube up the treads.
I think we use 3 types of assembly oil in this build.
Yep. Now we're going to 25 foot-pounds on this, and I'm going to do it in steps. And when I say steps, I'm talking about like with my butt, not dyno, but my butt.
Torque wrench.
My butt wrench. So that's like 5 foot-pounds.
What is it? What has to do with this?
Butt dyno. It also is a
That's also a wrench. Yeah, heck, it's practically a Leatherman.
There we go. All right, this is 10, 15, 25, 25, 25, and 25. There we go. That's wonderful. Now, just for ha-has, I'm going to rotate this and make sure there's clearance on everything. Everything passed. So cool. Let's install the rockers and our push rods.
Are you going to say something relevant? Because if so, you can say it while the camera's rolling, you know?
Okay. How much does it take to build one of these?
Oh.
A lot.
More than you can handle, pal.
Yeah.
2 of the big ones.
Ferrari.
Yeah. Yeah, this was not the budget build.
No.
This was the check every box build.
Got the push rods in place.
Your number 2 pencils, they're big. I don't think they're 1/4 inch, but they are 3/16.
They're both opening, so I'm going to say they're too tight. So what I'm going to install now is I'm going to install the flywheel, and then I'm going to install the coil. So I've got the coil all set up, but I need to tighten up the flywheel first before I set the gap at 40 thousandths on this coil. So I believe we set the flywheel to, was it 50 foot-pounds?
54.
54 foot-pounds.
I don't remember.
54 sounds good. So all I gotta do is find the nut for this and crank this thing down. Oh, we're using the bump start one. Making sure that Loctite gets all in them threads. Bingo.
Good.
Oh, we're pretty good. Now I just need to go with the 50. No, I'll go with the 54.
You going straight up there? You're not gonna walk it up? I'm just kidding.
I'm gonna have to wedge something. Break off a blade like that. What can I wedge it in? Gotta wedge it in something. So now that we got the flywheel tightened up, we are going to set the coil gap to 40 thousandths. And pretty easy. Just take your feeler gauge, go 40 thousandths right between there. And let's check it on the other end. It's pretty good. So I'm going to put it there and I'm going to tighten it up. And hopefully it doesn't move. Feels pretty good. Go to the other end. Feels pretty good. I'm going to tighten it up. All right, coil's on, engine turns over freely.
One step closer, firing this thing up.
Dude, this thing's getting so close.
Dude, they hooked it up with the nice blower housing.
Dude, it's the thick metal. It is super nice.
And it's the bump start blower housing.
Yeah.
And it has a lot of these holes that has very minimal ventilation because it's going to be running methanol. It doesn't need as much airflow.
Right.
And having less ventilation also helps with horsepower.
Yeah.
It's less wind resistance that the flywheel needs to fight. Going on with the monster 34 millimeter flat slide carburetor.
Yep.
To be honest, I'm thinking this carburetor might give up a little bit on the low end.
It might.
And it'll pick it back up on the high end where it could actually use all that airflow.
Yeah.
But you know what? If it's having a hard time keeping the front wheel on the ground, then this carburetor kind of acts like traction control.
All right, boys, the engine is done, and usually we install the engine into the chassis, but this is so much motor that we're gonna install the bike into the engine. Right?
Got it. All right, let's do it.
All right.
Done.
Well, that chassis sure looks good around that engine.
Sure does.
It's a whole lot of chassis.
Talk about all motor. It's gonna be all motor, definitely.
You mean bolt this thing down as in bolt the chassis down to the engine?
Yeah, we're gonna bolt the chassis to the engine.
Good.
Where are the bolts?
So we want to make sure that we keep the rider strapped to this rocket ship. So I think we're doing the pegs back here for now.
Yeah, definitely in sport mode.
We are installing the catch can up front on this bike. It seems like a great spot.
Can you rotate it? You know, I can get one tack. Yep, perfect. And so this side needs to come out a little bit, and that side needs to go in a little bit. Work for everybody?
Yep.
Looks good to me.
All right.
Just don't breathe.
Covered.
Oh yeah.
Good and solid.
Good and solid.
It looks good too. I like the way it kind of fills in
It does.
the space between the engine and the front end. Looks good.
It's real nice.
Yeah. All right, dudes, we're getting really close to firing this thing up. I am so ready to hear this thing
It's gonna be a monster.
come to life.
So we are ready to fire this thing up. Go Power Sports is going to have an exhaust and an air filter and a complete rear axle assembly waiting for us in Texas it's time to get this thing fired up because the bus is leaving the station in, man, less than 24 hours.
Yep.
It feels weird to sit here admiring a incomplete bike, but it does look good.
Sorry, I gotta try. Okay, this is more comfortable with the pegs behind than my bike. I don't know what it is. It's like a seat position or something.
And there's like actually a decent chance it's gonna fit with the air filter.
This is good.
It's pretty sweet, man.
Yep. It's gonna take a little bit to get the
Pump the fuel in. Yeah.
All right, y'all ready?
Yep.
Here we go. Contact. Sounds like a very responsive engine.
It gives the best foot massage.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the condensation on the intake manifold.
Oh yeah, that methanol is some good stuff. Nice and cold. Dude, it fired up like immediately.
Yeah, you were like, it's gonna take a minute. Nope. Sweet. So we just need to let it cool down and run one more kind of break-in cycle, and it'll be good to go. Definitely got some heat in it. You guys feel the ground shaking?
I'm shaking.
My hands are numb.
All right, so
Wow.
let's put this thing at the top dead center.
Yeah, we'll get the oil out of it, and time to get a rear wheel on it.
All right, let's see how milky this one is compared to the last one. It's a little milky, not too bad.
It's not so bad. Flaky, as always, but it's all right. First oil change.
I don't see a lot that's like sticking out.
No. Remember the first time we did an oil change on one of these, and you were like
Oh my god.
halfway freaking out?
Oh yeah.
It's all right.
Ew.
Yeah, that was a chunk.
That was water.
Oh.
That's water. Or methanol. I don't see anything that like sticks out like be freaking out over.
Cool.
I think that's a pretty good break-in we did, dude.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Can't wait to get this bike finished.
I know, right? She sounds really spicy.
So you can see.
Oh boy.
How to make your engine builder angry 101 right here.
I had nothing to do with it.
What's up?
These are supposed to go this way.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
What?
What's
That
gonna
makes
happen-
sense.
Yeah.
Because you can literally just pull it all out.